Hello, and welcome back to another Pirkei Avot text explication video with me, your host, Rabbi Drew. We are now on the 15th text in the 5th chapter, and as we see here right in the first line, Arba midot biyoshvim lifnei chachamim, that there are four categories of people who sit in front of sages. The very first two words, Arba midot, four categories, is something that we have been seeing recently. In fact, this is the 6th and final text in which we have seen this starting formula, the starting phrase of four arba midot, four categories, four types, four archetypes, however you want to translate it. This is the 6th and final in this series in this 5th chapter. So who are these four categories of those who sit in front of the sages? Sfog, mashpech, mashmeret, v'nafa. There is a sponge, a funnel, a strainer, and a sieve. You get that? A sponge, a funnel, a strain, and a sieve. Now, what are these? All right, so here we have descriptions of each of these four. A sponge soaks up everything. This person is in front of the sages, and they soak up everything. You have a funnel, takes in one end and goes out the other. You have a strainer, which lets out the wine and retains the lees. Shemotzin et hayayin v'koletet et hashmarim. This is fun fact, by the way. This is the 4th and final mention of wine in Pirkei Avot. In case you were keeping score at home, that this person, the strainer, it keeps the lees. It's in Hebrew shmarim, but it's just like the sediment basically. So this person they let out the wine and kept the bad stuff. Who needs that? You want to keep the wine. And then you have the 4th and final characteristic, the 4th and final person here, or archetype, a sieve. Now the sieve lets out the coarse meal and retains the choice flour. And this one, so that's seemingly the opposite of the strainer. This nafa is different than the mishameret. So the strainer, the 3rd category, they let out the good stuff and keep the bad stuff. And then this 4th one, the sieve, it lets out the coarse meal but retains the fine flour. That seems to be a better piece of it. So just to recap, we've got these four, and we can kind of think about it on a continuum or a spectrum, if you will. It seems to be, what's amusing about this is we don't actually have any moral valence ascribed to any of these. It just simply describes these four. It doesn't say if it's good, bad, indifferent. It just says there are 4 different types of people. 4 different types of these people who sit in front of the sages. Is that good? Is it bad? I think the underlying sort of working assumption, operating assumption, is that you want to keep things from the sage. You want to be able to retain. So this very first archetype, this sponge who collects everything, who absorbs everything, absorbs the knowledge, absorbs the wisdom from these sages, that's really the sort of the best category of person who sits in front of sages. If you're going to think about it. Let's take a step back. If someone is going to spend time, they're going to make the time to even come within proximity of sages, and beyond that, they're going to sit down and they're going to spend time and they're going to listen and they're going to hear what these sages have to share, what they have to say. You would imagine, to make it most worthwhile, you would want to be able to retain the information. So for the sponge, that would seem to be the best style, right? They take it in and they absorb it and it stays. They retain this information, they retain this wisdom, they retain this knowledge. The exact opposite is this funnel, which just goes in one end and out the other. What good is that? Why bother? Why did that person do that? So those are the opposite ends of the spectrum. One, they both go in, one stays in, and the other, nothing stays in. But then we have these two intermediary, right? We have one, I'm going to go in the opposite direction that everything else is. The 4th, which is, for the 4th one, they keep the best stuff. The coarse flour, they don't keep, right? That sieve, this person who is the sieve, they retain the best flour. That seems to be, look, not everybody can remember everything. Not everybody can be a sponge. That person, they remember things, but only the best stuff. The coarse stuff, they don't remember that. No, that goes by the wayside, but they retain the best stuff. And then you have this unfortunate person. Like it's almost, to some degree, one wonders if this isn't almost worse than the funnel, which is this strainer, which they keep the bad stuff and they let out the good stuff, the wine, in that metaphor. What? Like, is that really so great? But we have those people. We definitely have those people. They don't remember really what things are about. They remember the dreck, the not so good stuff. Okay, they remember the silly stuff. So in sum, this is an interesting text in that, as we have seen in this series of 6, that there are moral valences or sort of moral judgments ascribed to certain people. Sometimes a Russia, sometimes a bad thing. They'll say something's bad, or they'll say someone's a chassid, they'll say someone's pious. In this one, there's no moral valence ascribed. There's no judgment taken. They're just 4 different types, and they sort of run along a spectrum of different people who decide to take the time and spend sitting in front of the sages. Not everybody obviously can be a sponge. Not everybody has such an incredible memory like that. I certainly don't. But seemingly it would almost seem to be best to be the sieve that can retain the finest stuff and let out the coarsest stuff. But we have all sorts of people. So that is the 6th and final in sort of that mini series within this 5th chapter. And as we continue along in this chapter, we'll move beyond this Arba Midot, these 4 category stylistic formulae, and we're going to move beyond. We still have much more to go in this 5th chapter. So once again, thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you around. Thank you.